Welcome to the 3 a.m. podcast. My name is DJ.
My name is Sean.
My name's Charlie. Anyway, we're just a couple of friends, tell scary stories, and hopefully make you laugh.
Hopefully.
Did you guys see what I threw up on our story the other day?
Which one?
It was your birth month as a serial killer you have to face.
Yeah, I liked that.
So, we had some responses from people, but also I wanted to just throw this out to you guys. Like, you were Valak.
Yeah, the nun.
Yeah. And you were Freddie.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to know, like, what
were
would
you?
you do? Oh, I was Michael.
Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Mike Myers.
Okay. Mine, I'm effed because it's like I can't go to sleep. And I can't fully remember how they beat him. I think they went into the dream and beat him in the dream or
I
something.
think so, yeah.
I could tell you how he's beat.
How?
Or my dad could from my dream. Do you remember?
No.
I shared this before, but I had Freddy Krueger in one of my dreams, which is Freddy Krueger's domain.
Yeah.
Dominion, you know? Just him and my dad were fighting in like the parking garage of the airport in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And before they fight, they meet, my dad's like, take this and you'll know the time.
Oh, gosh.
You'll know when to use it. And I'm like, no. And he's like, yes, go. And I turn around and I go and I'm watching them fight on the top level. And what he gave me was a grenade launcher. Somehow powerful enough to bring down the whole parking garage.
Of course, yeah.
Bro, I'm pretty sure that's Fast and Furious 8.
It literally is.
Yeah. Hobbs and Shaw.
Dude, it might be,
Just a Tongan dude.
You and Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Hand-to-hand combat. That's funny.
Yeah, I can't remember how he was beat besides the grenade launcher either. So,
Well, honestly, I might have a good chance because I've lucid dreamed several times in the past.
okay.
So if I could manage that, then I can just bring into fruition,
Yeah.
some brrrr, and then shoot Freddy in the face.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like I'm screwed because you have to go to bed. I love my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it's his domain. So I'm playing by his rules. And then the nun, I don't really know the extent of like the nun's powers.
Neither do I. I haven't watched The Nun.
Me neither.
So I don't know if she's defeated or how or...
Sean?
I remember that she's, sorry, spoilers for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
She's not defeated in The Nun. She's defeated in The Conjuring 2.
Say that again.
She's defeated in The Conjuring 2.
Oh.
So, like, in The Nun, it's a story of, like, her being
Like her
trapped the
origin.
whole time. Yeah. Her origin and finally getting out. And she gets out and eventually I don't even know, like, between The Nun and The Conjuring 2, but that's what is in, like, the kid or whatever in The Conjuring 2. And they have to say its name to have power over him.
Okay, so DJ just has to say the name.
As far as I remember.
Huh.
Like, there's probably more that goes into it, but that's at least part of it. And the thing is that they didn't know what its name was the whole time, and so it was a lot more intense than just us already knowing what
So
its
just
name is.
like a big study group session.
No,
There's
I
a
know,
lot of reading.
I know like 3 or 4 girls who would find out that thing's name in like 2 minutes because they're like IG sleuths.
Yeah.
They'd be on there. Tick, 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 tick. Here's the birthplace. Here's the name. Here's who she went out with.
Yeah. Who was in your bed at night? And just like, I promise you. It's not what it looks like.
Dude, yeah, you got that on your side, plus the fact you really just have to say their name, so I feel like you're good.
Also, does she like kill people?
Or does she just like go boo in the night?
That's
you
the
know?
only thing I've ever seen is she terrifies people.
And like in a battle.
I feel like she could hurt people. Like when I was watching The Nun, like straight up, the dude who was sent from the Catholic Church to investigate was killed by it.
Huh.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, like your guy, damn, I said that weird. Your guy and my guy have body count. Like they kill people. But I feel like the nun 90% of the time just is like lurking.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like in battle, like can she do anything?
Also, it's like a 2,000-year-old she just right hooker.
Yeah.
Your dude's like 6'7".
Dude, yeah, he's
and
a monster.
Freak, and then my guy is like a demon in your dreams. So it's like, that's not fair at all.
I feel like my ideal ending is a suicide like me killing him while I kill myself.
Like lure him into something.
Kamikaze.
Oh,
yeah, dude, I just
would
light the
think that would be
house on
mine, but-
fire and we both go down.
Yeah.
You are the best one out of the three of us for Mike Myers, though.
Like most possible to survive.
Probably.
Because all you need is light cardio.
Yeah.
Because that fool just walks.
Light cardio and like at least a little bit of stamina.
Yeah.
Everyone, he goes after people who he knows be tripping all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So you screwed.
Yeah. My
Broken
rolled
ankle.
ankle. Yeah.
Me, I've rolled my ankles more than you. So you're the best for
True. There were also some ones that looked pretty easy on that chart.
it. Like Chucky. Dude, punt that
Yeah.
thing in the face, put it in the microwave, done.
For real. Anybody born in October was dealing with the clown from It. Had a couple people who were not happy about that.
That's the worst one because I don't know how familiar you are with it, but what it does is it takes on the shape of your worst nightmare. So it's like you're your worst enemy in that scenario because the more
Just
afraid
I
you
show
are,
up, dude.
yeah, to yourself or what?
I'm my worst enemy, bro.
Yeah, oh, that's hilarious.
Going back to what you're talking about with dreams and lucid dreaming, a little bit of a tangent, but MIT has like a prototype.
I saw this.
Yeah. It's a wearable sleep tracker,
Have you heard of this?
No.
and it has a potential to shape dreams.
So it's like it can induce lucid dreaming.
To like MIT is on this?
Yeah. There's like I think it's like a small group of students and professors who are developing this technology.
That's trippy. It's like something you'll put on your head and like does different lights and stuff that can help you.
Almost, yeah, something like that. But I think it like you can plug in things while you're conscious, like before you go to bed, things that you want to dream about, and it's programmed to help you to like bring that, visualize that in your dream. So I think they like plug like simple things, like they plugged in like tree, and like 80% of people who use that device with the tree code or whatever
We're able to,
dreamt
like,
about trees or had a tree in their dream.
Yo, any screenwriters out there? This is like horror screenwriters, I should say. This is like for me perfect scenario for like the precursor of something terrible.
Yeah.
You add Freddy in there, bro. You just
Like, yeah, you could do Freddy or like something even just like I don't know, the idea of opening up lucid dreaming to the world, we'd have no idea what that would bring.
It also reminds me of, I mean, in a sense, it's almost like VR.
But IRL VR?
and while you're
Ish,
sleeping.
But, I mean, dreams aren't IRL,
That's true.
you know? It reminds me of the episode of Black Mirror, the horror game.
I loved that. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. This tourist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gets
Okay, yeah,
invited
that's right.
by this production company who makes video games.
To like test out the
to test out this horror game, and it's basically virtual reality. He just puts on his head, and
That would be
you
trippy.
can find out the rest.
Yeah. Anything
What
else
else?
with yours? Did you have any funny responses from people?
I screenshotted it.
Yeah. Okay, so it was asking who will survive. We're all assigned someone from a horror movie. Once again, just so you remember, who did I have? I had
Freddy.
Freddy. DJ had the Nun.
I had Michael Myers. Someone said Charlie and Sean will. Deej will not because he'll twist his effing ankle trying to run. Someone said, "Oh shit, the nun would just stare at me and I'd die of a heart attack." Oh, someone did say Pennywise. Someone said Deej got the best chance. I think as long as you
kind
say
of
its
agree.
name.
Realistically speaking, I really think I do
I do too.
have the best chance.
Like Michael Myers is a beast, can't die from bullets, like has been in a house fire and walks out.
Dude, like I'm saying, it's got to be like a kamikaze move and take him out, I think. That's the only way I survive.
I feel like you
I
have
die.
to like Terminator him where it's like throw him in molten lava.
Dude, it
Or
could
like
be.
chop off his head, cut
Yes.
out his heart, and like
Eat it.
bury both of those separately, like on opposite sides of the planet.
Yeah.
And then throw the body in the wood chipper. Like,
Michael's a beast, dude.
Yeah, it's true. 100%. He has that body count, bro.
Yeah.
But that little girl freaking survived Halloween. What's her name? What is her name in real life? From Freaky Friday. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
She survived in 2 of those movies.
Yeah.
3.
I really liked the new one they did where she comes
I liked it too.
Yeah.
I think they're making another one too.
I think so too.
We did have a couple people who answered based on who theirs was. Someone said, I was born in May. I also was born with red hair. Chucky would be toast.
Nice.
Someone said, hell no, I just watched The Nun and I don't think I'd last 5 minutes. Oh, and obviously the nun would just stare at me and I'd have a heart attack. So we did have some good answers on that. I thought it was funny when I saw it and threw it out there.
That is fun.
Speaking of movies, I've been working on a movie set the past 2 weeks.
Oh,
Which has
Hollywood.
It's just been really fun, but exhausting. Like the shortest amount we've worked in one day is like 12 hours. It's been cool to see the inner workings of a film and the background and how many moving pieces there are, and how many people are on the set like making this thing come to life. But
Coordination must be wild.
it is. Everybody has their job and it's like clockwork, super tight scheduling, and everybody's just doing their best to stay on top of it.
Dang.
But this movie is it's called Alien Country. It's supposed to be Zombieland meets Stranger Things. So it's a creature feature. And they have like impressive pull with like the people who are working on the film. Some of the actors and actresses have worked with like A-listers. One of the girls in there is in a movie with Ryan Gosling.
Oh, I heard of him.
Yeah. It's cool. It's just cool to watch and see come together. So
While on set, DJ met someone, and you'll find out more later.
later.
I don't know. You can tell.
Oh, okay. What like there's like I said, like a bunch of the different actors have just worked on like big stuff from Criminal Minds, and one of them is like a main dude in Silicon Valley.
Didn't you say there was a dude who worked like with Weta, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit?
Oh, okay, that's your talking. Sorry,
No, I'm not.
no.
No, I'm just saying like
Oh yeah.
I'm just adding to the characters.
Yeah. One of the main VFX artists there worked with James Cameron on Avatar, and he like wasn't just a VFX artist for James Cameron. He like led the team of 125 VFX artists, and he was like a new graduate out of BYU Provo.
Dang, dude.
And James Cameron like hit him up and was like, "I'll fly you out, get you a house for 3 years. You'll lead the team to help me produce the film, like all the visual effects and everything." And since then, he's worked on a ton of like VFX heavy movies, from The Hobbit to X-Men to Avengers and Tintin, Adventures of Tintin.
Oh.
And he said that's his most proud work.
I loved
that he's
Dude,
done,
I
is
liked that
Tintin.
one.
Yeah. He said the most fun he had was Avengers. Yeah.
I can
bringing,
imagine for
it was
like
the
that.
first Avengers movie too. So like that was exciting, especially for like comic book enthusiasts and people who were into all the cartoons and whatnot growing up. So just putting that on the big screen for the first time was really fun for him. But yeah. Apparently he so I became good friends with the sound guys on set naturally. And one of them has been friends with him for a long time. They both served Mormon missions in Germany, and they've been friends ever since. So they work with each other from time to time because they're both in film. And the one who's in sound, his name's Rob. And I was talking to him about his homie who's a VFX artist, whose name is Jerem. And he's like, yeah, dude, Jerem is like a super big deal. And to illustrate, last year we went to an Oscar party. And Rob said, I bought my ticket to the Oscar party, but Jerem wasn't invited. And we went together. And we walked in, and A-list celebrities watched him walk in, stopped what they were doing, and came up and talked to him.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's crazy. And this dude like lives in Utah Valley. You know?
That's
just like-
crazy.
Yeah. But
Well, dude, fellas, we're on our way.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. So I am the segue, the connection to
Dude,
getting
right
us to
now we got those
big screen.
Z-list actors stopping everything they got to do to come talk to us.
Yeah, boy.
It was just really fun to be on set and like I said, see everything come together. But
That's dope.
one particular individual on set, his name is Raven. One particular individual on set, his name is Raven. HR.
First of all, interesting name.
Yeah, HRA.
One of all.
FEN.
HRA.
FEN.
What?
Yeah,
Wait,
Raven.
HR.
Raven.
Raven.
Yeah, something like Raven.
Raven.
Yeah. He's this older gentleman. He's getting ready to retire soon, I think. But he's a set designer.
Ooh.
And he was in charge of the art department. So that included like costumes, props, the trucks the sheriffs were driving, and the crossbows that the hillbillies had to fight the aliens. And he's a really cool dude. But his workshop is in Salt Lake City and is allegedly haunted and has had ghost adventures,
Like the,
the
TV,
show,
Okay.
at his place 3 times to investigate,
Ooh.
which is really fun. He said, I can tell you all the lies that they've told on the TV show, but I can tell you all the things that are true as well. And I was telling him, it all started because I asked him, do you have any scary stories? And he was like, I don't know where to start.
Whoa, that's the first of all best answer.
Yeah.
Where do I start, young man?
Yeah, after he tells me his first story, I'm like already kind of floored. And I was like, hey, I have a podcast where we tell these stories. Do you mind if I share it? Or if you have more, do you want to be on the podcast? And he said, I love being on podcasts. So we're scheduling to go in about 2 weeks.
And we're not just bringing them in here.
Yeah, we're going to the shop.
The haunted shop.
Yeah.
We gonna spend the night, dude?
I don't know, dude. He made it sound like he's pretty open to like trying to make things happen.
Maybe we just stay till like 3 a.m.
I mean, I'd be down. If it's a weekend. If it's a weeknight, I gotta go to sleep. I need my sleep.
Should we share the detail about where we're going to record there?
So he said there's like a couple specific places where there's a lot of activity. And he said there's a table that always gets a lot of activity. And he said we can record on that table. We can sit around it and talk, have cameras set up and whatnot. But one more kind of precursor to that, he has befriended one of the ghosts there. And it's a little girl named Olivia. And apparently she protects him. She's not malicious at all compared to maybe some of the other ghosts there. But he has a really good relationship with her. Like a lot of his stories involve him talking with her, them having conversations, him telling her to do stuff. When Ghost Adventures comes and investigates, or any paranormal investigator come, which sounds like it was kind of often, he'll like work with her to give them a show.
Whoa. Like, hey, let's do something cool.
Yeah, he'll tell her like, hey, Olivia, go tap on their
Flick the
shoulder.
lights, yeah.
Or, yeah. And like within seconds, people will be like,
What was that?
yeah, no, yeah. But
Dude, I just got nervous.
yeah.
I
I know we
don't
talk a lot
dude.
of talk, but I don't know when it comes to walking the walk. I'm just so terrified of like getting haunted.
If
Like if I
there's-
know I can go there, experience it, then leave it, I'm down with that.
if there's anything Scooby-Doo has taught me, is it can all be faked, bro.
I mean, that's true, but if anything Scooby-Doo Zombie Island has taught me is that sometimes that shit is real. You know what I mean, bro?
It's true. There's only one way to find out.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. So we're trying to do it before Halloween. It's going to be on a Sunday where we'll record. And then we'll likely release that episode that following Friday.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. Me too.
Something that's always interested me is unexplainable discoveries in history. So I came across a list and it just named a couple. Obviously, there's way more. But I was going to read you some. And then if you guys can think of any, chime in. All right. So the first one is these massive stone spheres in Costa Rica. So I got this from a Live Science article written by,
Or live science.
is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, one or the other. Written by Heather Whips and Elizabeth Peterson. So the article just goes over mysterious archaeological finds.
It sounds like a credible BuzzFeed.
Yeah, I know. You'll never guess what number 4 is. Okay, so these giant stone spheres, some date back to 680.
Is it kind of like
600 AD.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it kind of like Easter Island? Like the stone heads?
In what way? Where they just like have no idea?
Yeah. Like
Yeah, totally.
how to get there, like who put it there. you
Yeah,
know?
they only have legends. They have no idea.
Yeah.
So let me go over just a little bit about what they actually are. So these are called the Diquis, Diquis spheres, if you want to look them up. So a lot of non-experts. So there's like a lot of experts have broken it down. They don't really know where they come from. And then there's a lot of like folklore and legend around them. And a lot of the non-experts say that they have like astrological,
Origins.
yes, and like a relationship.
Okay.
So some Stonehenge, like astrological relationship.
Yeah. And if you look at them, some of them are like several feet high and they're perfect spheres made out of this like magma rock. And so back then, like the tools that the people would have had back then are just like small stone tools. And yet they were somehow able to make these crazy, perfectly spherical things in the jungle. Some people thought they were like director markers for maybe significant places back then, but they really can't draw any conclusions.
So like those OG cairns.
Yeah. The people who like lived in this area who would have been most likely connected to whoever made them, they all vanished with the appearance of like Cortez. So you know how he came over?
So disease.
Yeah, exactly. When they got there, they said there was like
The Spanish.
huge cities, like insanely huge cities. And they got there the first time, did their thing, they left and came back. And when they had come back, like more than half of them had died.
Yeah.
So like his conquest wasn't that
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're very lucky disease was on their side.
The Spanish Inquisition or influenza?
Spanish. But this is what they like, some of them look like. This is actually the one I'm like the most, I've heard about this since I was little and it is freaked, or like it is captured my imagination hardcore. So, what is it called?
Antikythera?
Mechanism.
Yeah,
So,
mechanism. I don't know.
Antikythera Mechanism. So they found this thing off the coast of Greece, and it was in like a ship. And what I remember when I first saw it, like on the History Channel or something, is like it was in this box. It was extremely corroded. They didn't really realize what it was. They brought it in and they opened it up. Looking at it at first, they had no idea what it was. And they took all these X-rays, and inside of this thing, there is these gears. And it's not just gears, it's so elaborate that they said it was tantamount to opening up King Tut's tomb and finding a jet engine plane. Like, because they dated it, and back then they had nothing like this. So
What is it?
So they kind of don't know. It has these gears, it has these dials, and it has all these unknown markings, like a language or runes around it. So they don't actually know what it's for. A lot of people think it's for like navigating the ocean, but the inside of it is like a computer.
It looks like a timepiece almost, like clocks, you know?
Yeah, it does.
You got three possibilities. A, aliens. B, time travel. C, Atlantis.
That's one of them. That's definitely one of them. So they said that they found this in sunken wreckage of a Greek cargo ship. It's at least 2,000 years old. The circular bronze artifact contains a maze of interlocking gears and mysterious characters etched all over the exposed surfaces. It was originally thought, like I said, to be some kind of navigational astrolabe. I'm sure I said that wrong. Archaeologists continue to uncover its uses and now know that it was, at the very least, a highly intricate astronomical calendar. It was the most sophisticated device ever found from that period, preceding the next appearance of anything similar for 1,000 years. But one of the scientists who found it, when he said, this thing is so advanced, it is like if we opened up King Tut's tomb and found a jet. Like, that's how out of place this thing is. So I just, stuff like that, I've always wanted to know. And like, we'll never know those things. You guys know the story of like Alexandria's library?
Yeah.
Dude, the saddest.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
So apparently, like Africa used to be this mecca of knowledge. Like people would send their scholars, there's people everywhere to learn mathematics, astronomy, alchemy, like everything. And I don't know exactly where the Library of Alexandria was. Do you guys?
I have no idea.
But it had become this place where they had collected the world's knowledge, all the histories, like all the rarest books and things like that and artifacts. And then in some war, some asshole burnt it all to the ground.
Yeah. No, I also heard that every time people came into the city, they would take all of the literature, copy it verbatim, keep the original, and give the copy to the person visiting.
Well,
That
like
was,
the people
part of
would bring their literature there.
Yeah. Or like even if somebody was visiting and had like books on hand or something,
Yeah.
and like just years and years and years of being able to collect all of that, like it just added to everything else that they had. But
You got to imagine they had like the mysteries of Egypt in there, how they built the pyramids, things like that.
yeah.
Ugh.
But they did find that in National Treasure when
done.
they found.
You're grounded. That was basically it. There's Atlantis, there's Stonehenge.
Stonehenge.
There's these things. Anyway, that's just like, I basically just wanted to bring it up to show you that mechanism, but that's stuff I find super interesting. So hopefully you do too.
I do actually.
Cool.
Dope, dude.
Okay.
I kind of want to like go through that whole article and just look at each one and try to find more resources and read up on each item.
All right. Anyway, so I was just, super intrigued by weird findings. And while I was going down that rabbit hole, this is going to get crazy. I'm just going to tell you what it is, and we might have to do some research. There's a dude who is a photographer who is deep in the jungles of India. And there's people in that region who are Zoroastrians, which I think is the oldest known religion in the world.
Okay.
To paint a picture or like build a background of Zoroastrianism.
Sure.
I know I'm saying it wrong, but
This religion, yeah.
yeah. A lot of things on Epstein's Island had imagery that was in this religion. So it's like it is the oldest known religion, and there's themes of like preying on innocence or children for energy. So it has like this really dark old magic type tone. Okay. So there's people who are known to practice this out in this area.
That's gross.
So in January of 2003, Indian officials ventured deep into the jungle investigating several missing persons reports from a nearby village. So missing people are going missing. These people go out to sea.
Not missing people are going out missing.
So people start going out missing, and this police gets called out there, and a photographer went out with them. Okay. So what they found was what is known as a tower of silence, or a Dakhma, Dakhma, Dhkma. Sorry. Zoroastrians use these sites to dispose of their bodies in open air. So instead of burying their bodies, they lay them out in open air, and this is how they do it. So they set them up on a tower of silence.
That reminds me of like not to break your track here, but like in the Philippines, they have like the hanging coffins.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Uh-uh.
You can take a tour of it. But they didn't believe bodies should be on the ground because that's like desecrating it, like dropping food on the ground.
Yeah.
So they put them in coffins and like nailed the coffins to like the cave walls.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's the creepiest image ever.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's the Philippines.
Different burial traditions are super interesting.
Yeah.
And there's some all over the world. Like we had talked previously about the Maori one where they bury them for a year and then dig them up again and have another like ceremony with the dead body. Things like that.
Yeah.
I know that in Peru near the Nazca lines, they all these mummies were buried in the same way, and they're buried cross-legged with their head in their lap.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about Hawaiians being really secretive about their bones.
Yeah.
And the bones of like royalty is like there's like a specific family who handles all like the royalty kings and queens, all their bones, and knows where all of them are.
That's so great. Do you think that survived? Do you think that's around anywhere?
I bet you.
Like some Hawaiians secretly know?
Yeah.
Bro, hit us up.
Dude, that'd be so crazy, yeah. But yeah, when we were in the Philippines, like they bury everyone above ground. I think now it's just more like cost efficient.
Yeah.
But like all the graveyards are just like
Cabinets.
When we went on our
we stopped by one
scooter
of those.
ride, yeah.
Did you see them?
It was
weird,
interesting.
dude.
Yeah. Above ground casket type thingies everywhere.
Yeah.
Little boxes.
You walk through and it's like
It's just on a random hill in the jungle. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Anyway, so here we are. We're in
Dakhma.
We're in the jungles of India, and they just discovered a Dakhma. So Zoroastrians use these to dispose of bodies in the open air. While sites like these are not uncommon in certain parts of India, several peculiarities hint at something more unusual. So they get there. Like, it was such a shocking sight. People like vomited left, and the photographer just snaps a photo. So I'll show you the photo at the end. Number 1, none of the bodies depicted in the photograph were identified. None of them fit the description of the missing people or anyone who was like known of that area.
Okay.
Villagers from nearby, initially surprised about the sheer number of corpses in the Dakhma, proved unable to recognize any of the bodies. The corpses also did not match the descriptions of the missing people, like I said. 2, there were no animals except for maggots and flies, so nothing had to disturb these bodies. Zoroastrians rely on birds, such as buzzards, to dispose of the bodies in the belief that they are contributing back to the earth. Officials found the corpses relatively untouched by any animal. 3, there's no official count of the bodies. In fact, little work was actually accomplished at the site, and perhaps this is the reason only one photograph has emerged. Officials avoided the spot not only because they felt uneasy looking at it, but because of the following as well. 4.
The following? Oh, the following points.
Yeah. So like all these dudes are sketched out. None of them really wanted to process the scene. None of them even wanted to look into it. They said a terrible feeling. The smell was unreal, and it was all sketch. So how it's set up is a tower, and on top of the tower is like an incline circular ledge. And in the middle of the tower is a huge pit. So all the bodies are like lined up at the top of this tower around this pit. And the idea is all their fluids drain into the pit.
I'm imagining like nuclear power plant towers, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Like from The Simpsons or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where there's like the smokestacks coming out of
Yes.
them. So it's just like a shell, like a cylinder.
Yeah.
Almost.
So picture that, but imagine obviously much smaller, made out of like stone in the middle of the jungle. And on the top is a pretty fat ledge where laid around all the edge is just hundreds of bodies. Okay. So the deep pit in the center of the photograph was filled with several feet of festering blood. Far more than what the bodies around the ring could have produced. Like this thing was deep of just blood that had like turned black, you know? The stench was so unbearable, many of the officials began to get nauseous when they first approached the Dakhma. The expedition ended when a villager accidentally kicked a small bone into the pit, penetrating the coagulated surface of the pool. A massive burst of gas from the decomposing blood erupted from the pit, splashing those looking into it, along with the photographer. Those caught in the explosion were immediately sent to the hospital, where they were quarantined for a possible infection.
Damn, they should have worn masks.
This is pre-COVID. No one knew what was up. I'm sure some dude ran up and was like, "Are you okay?" And then they just coughed in each other's mouth for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, they became delirious with fever super quickly.
What?
And they started shouting about being tainted with the blood of Ahriman.
Ahriman.
Ahriman, which is the personification of evil in Zoroastrianism.
Wow.
Okay, Okay, so like they start yelling this regardless, like none of them knew the background of the religion, right? None of them knew what that really meant.
Yeah.
But they're all screaming this.
Yeah.
In fact, many of them had no idea what the Dakhma was until they had like found it. So they had no idea what it was. Someone had to come tell them like, this is what this is. Delirium turned to insanity as many began to attack hospital staff until they were sedated. The fever eventually killed all of them.
Even the photographer?
Yes.
Wow. This happened in 2003?
That's what it says, dude. January of 2003. So what they do after this is the officials come back to the Dakhma. Full hazmat out. Think the ending of E.T.
Or Among Us.
Sure, yeah. Or Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they have full hazmat regalia on. They're ready. They ain't about to get that blood in the face.
Yeah.
They walk up to the Dakhma. They go up to the top. It's completely empty. All the bodies are gone. All the blood is gone.
Oh my God.
Nope.
The only thing that remains from this, because everyone who was there the first day died, is the one photo. So here's the photo.
Holy.
That's gross.
Okay, so what do you see?
A lot of dead bodies, like we described.
Those aren't like there's still flesh. All of them still have flesh, I was gonna say a healthy amount, but that's not
Nothing healthy about
nothing
this.
healthy about this. I don't know, because I'm an expert on
Of course.
human decomposition,
Yes, totally.
yeah, rigor mortis and the like.
Yeah.
I'd say those bodies, if they didn't undergo like mutilation, like they just laid there perfectly fine, dead. That's like, I don't know, 3 months.
Maybe, yeah.
I was originally thinking like hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh,
And it was like skeletons, but like.
No, these are all fresh boys. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I went in the comments. There was a lot of speculation. A lot of people immediately being like, BS. But I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like this guy, he goes into it. And he posts his description of like this ritual. These things are actually really well designed. There are only a few of them still in use by Zoroastrians. I might be saying that wrong. Zoroastrians?
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to pronounce that wrong. Zoroastrians. Primarily because there are only a few thousand of practitioners of Zoroastrianism left in the world. Because the tower, which were originally built at least a mile out of villages, have been consumed by urban sprawl. So they just like have disappeared to like places like Mumbai.
Yeah.
In this picture, you'll notice the grooves in the stone. These are to carry fluids, bodily fluids, down into the central pit.
That's like every horror movie involving like summoning a demon.
Yep. But these also have religious significance. I think there's something like 72 of them, and each of them stand for a religious tenet in Zoroastrianism. These are generally 3 concentric rings, one for men, one for women, and one for children. Sometimes bodies of the deceased are laid out on the stone, but sometimes there are an open stone coffin that the tower attendants leave the bodies in. Only priests and the tower stewards are allowed inside. Only the stewards can go to the top of the tower. The priests do not ever go up there. The stewards are generally of the lowest societal class. They are responsible for knocking the bones into the pit when it's all done. The center of the tower is filled with all kinds of crazy aquifers to prevent groundwater from contamination. So they have like gravel, charcoal, sand, this whole thing set up so that like it doesn't contaminate groundwater.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where we're saying like these things are crazily designed. So these towers were meant to stand for thousands of years. They were meant to be fairly clean and safe for the environment. They serve to unite Zoroastrians in death. They're actually pretty cool. Is what the dude just finishes with. And then the next one, fake.
So we have you guys responding and then me responding.
Yeah. Anyway, think what you want. It's a fun story. I do know, like you're saying, think about the Mayans. Like things like that definitely have existed.
Yeah. Like the human sacrifices. And I'm probably saying this because I just watched Apocalypto. But all of that happened, like the human sacrificing and having bodies piled up like that and the blood drained into a pool, like, is on the same level for me, you know?
For sure.
Especially back in the day. So
Yeah, they wildin' back then.
Yeah, it'd be super interesting to like research a little bit more about the craziest like death rituals.
yeah.
Which I guess, I don't know. My Google is already so effed up. That won't help any.
But
But
I gotta go on freaking private before
Yeah,
I
I
start
know.
searching that
I
stuff.
do that too. Incognito.
ExpressVPN, hit us up. We need we need protection. Anyway, thanks for letting me go on that random tangent.
No, it's good. My story tonight kind of goes. I mean, there's themes from that tie into my story. So
Ooh.
yeah,
I
I'm
think,
excited.
I mean, then like, should we just get right into it?
Yeah,
All right, let's roll.
let's not roll. I'll just go first.
Damn, okay, I like it.
Okay. All right. So last week, I think it was last week or the week before, the episode where you talked about the North Shore
Yes.
and your friend who attended BYUH and encountered, what's his name? Jason?
That was the name given to him, but
yeah.
not his real name.
In the story, yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
Cool. We had somebody reach out, a listener.
After
name-
hearing that story?
Hearing that story, her name's Alyssa, who is also a patron. Alyssa attended school at BYUH in 2013. And she didn't know about the Jason story, but she led me on a train of thought and memories that I was able to kind of unearth after a long time, which I'll get to. But Alyssa attended BYUH, and she worked at what I was talking about, the PCC,
Nice.
the Polynesian Cultural Center.
Which village?
So she took groups all
cafeteria
around. Oh, actually, no, I think she was a photographer at PCC.
Oh, that's kind of dope.
Yeah. She said it was the best white girl job there. And
Oh, that makes sense.
she's from Utah.
You're not about to live, or you're not working in a village as a white person.
Yeah.
Like the Irish village.
She said she loved it there. So you remember when I talked about Laie Point? I thought you were starting to talk about Laie, and it was like the premise of, or the beginnings of your story. And I thought you were going to talk about Laie Point. And I said that there's a good handful or a bad handful of suicides that occur at Laie Point.
Yes.
She was there for one of the times that somebody drove off the cliff.
Whoa.
She was going with some friends to go cliff diving there.
Well, she was actually at Laie Point when this happened, not like just in the area.
She was going cliff diving with some friends there, and they arrive and the crane was pulling the car out of the water.
Whoa.
And she lived close enough to where either she saw or there was talk of, for days later, belongings from the car were washing up on shore.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is Alyssa's intro. She said
Dude, shout out Alyssa.
yeah, thank you so much for reaching out. She worked at the Polynesian Cultural Center, and she said her favorite village there was the Fijian village. And the Fijian village is, yeah. We went, the first time I took these boys to Hawaii, I took them to the PCC. And the Fijian village, well, every village.
Do a refresh on PCC.
Okay, sorry. The PCC stands for the Polynesian Cultural Center. And I don't know, it's our, I don't know how to describe it. I'm struggling.
No
Holy
worries.
smokes.
It's like a live representation and recreation of Polynesian culture. So it's this hub on the north shore of Oahu, and you go there. It's almost like Polynesian Disneyland. So you walk in, there's this super beautiful canal going through the whole PCC, and each section of the park is a culture, a different ethnicity, Polynesian ethnicity. So they have the Fijian village, they have the Maori village, they have the Tongan, Samoan, Tahitian,
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian, not Kiribati, not just kidding. just kidding.
They have all these villages, and throughout the day, you can spend. They do like these little shows or presentations at each village, and they're like a half an hour each.
They showcase their history, their culture, a dance, and
Songs, chants.
Yeah,
and,
it's awesome.
yeah. A lot of it's interactive, but it's really cool. But her favorite village was a Fijian village. She didn't explain exactly why, but there is one building in the Fijian village that obviously, because I've gone there 20 times in my life and I live half an hour away from it, I've seen it. I know the one that she started talking about it in her message, and I knew pretty much the one that she was talking about from the get-go, but I never knew what it was because nobody's allowed to go in it. But it's there and it's huge. And she sent me some resources, and I did some additional research as well. But it's this hut that's like 60 to 80 feet high. Massive. It's like a small, there's one or two doors, like either one in the front or one in the front and the back. And it's just one room with a huge roof. Like imagine like a trailer with like a huge cone on top of it almost. That's kind of what it looks like, but it's all made out of like grass, you know. But this is called the Bure Kalou.
Ooh.
And Bure means house, Kalou means spirit. So for the Fijians, this is the spirit house, or kind of like their house of God or the temple.
Oh.
You know, for Fijians. There's
Bula.
yeah, Bula means hello.
Bula Vanaka.
Bula Vinaka. So the Bure Kalou, or their temple, only certain people can go in. Like the high chief, or the priests. And it's where they would go to talk to God. The Bure Kalou also has, it's called tapa. Tapa is a cloth made from the bark of like mulberry and fig trees.
Should give that good tapa. I'm sorry.
You're dumb, dude. Tapa, or sometimes kapa, depending on different Polynesian languages.
What does it mean again? I'm sorry.
It's just a piece of cloth that's made from like bark that's been soaked and like pounded out. You see it in a lot of Tongan traditional clothing. Like they have the lava, like the skirt they wear, and then they have like the brown tapa around that. Yeah. So the Bure Kalou has a long plain white strip of tapa from the top running all the way down the house. And that was symbolic of like the pathway from sky to earth. And it was there for God to walk on. So super holy house, only certain people can go in, and it's at the PCC. I think it's just a replica like everything else there. I don't think they use it for actual practices.
I love how everything in Polynesian culture is storytelling. Everything has meaning. Like when I first started hanging out with Polys and like living with them, even like small curves on the tattoo. It's like, that one means my dad. That's my mom. That's my family. That's our mada'i. That's our, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I love the imagery of it and like the walkway for God to earth. That's so sick.
Yeah. There's a lot of purpose, and in Hawaiian it's kauna, meaning. But crazy part of how these are built, this thing is 60 to 80 feet tall, massive. And it's usually on top of like a little hill, or they'd make like almost like a pyramid almost to build on top of it so that it's on raised ground. It's a center focal point amongst all the other structures. But obviously they had huge posts to hold up the structure, and they'd bury it deep in the ground. But allegedly, some of the builders, like it was a great honor for them to hold the structures or the posts that held up the rest of the Bure, and they were buried alive with it, holding like the poles. So this just that's what I was reminded of when you were telling about
The Dakhma.
the Dakhma. Anyway, Alyssa's talking about how she worked at the PCC. She loved it. She said on Halloween night, she left all her white friends who all went to their Halloween parties.
Later, Howleys.
Yeah, and went with her poly friends and snuck into the PCC. And they went to the Fijian village. and they didn't go inside the Bure Kalou, but they were hanging out outside of it and telling ghost stories. And that with
First of all, that's my bucket list now.
yeah, I know that, and the fear of being caught, obviously,
Just
by
heightened
like night
sense.
security. Yeah, they're all just nervous and excited and whatnot. But the night guard, security guard who patrolled the PCC, I'm not sure if it was that night, but it sounded like while she was living in Hawaii and attending BYU, the night security guard went into the Bure Kalou, the temple, when he wasn't supposed to.
Ooh.
Or he's not appointed to be one of those who's allowed to enter. And he is found the next day, passed out and foaming at his mouth. So, she didn't give any more detail outside of that, but that just added to, like the mysticism and the just what the Buddha is, So as she's going on about like Fijian culture and like the Fijian village at the PCC, I thought of a friend that I grew up with, and I reached out to him asking about a story that he told a long time ago. And he grew up in Fiji during his younger years, but his whole family is from Fiji, and he's part Indian as well. If you didn't know, there's a ton of Indians in Fiji. I can't remember why. Do you know why? A lot of them migrated to Polynesia.
Maybe spice.
Bunch of
Spice trade.
a bunch of Indians and Chinese
Oh yeah.
migrated to Fiji.
But legitimately, like Fiji is known for being like half Indian.
Yeah, and that's why they have like Fijian curry. It's like one of their main dishes.
It's lit.
Yeah. So,
What's your homie's name?
Rob.
Bula Rob.
Yeah, Raab.
Hey. Oh, okay.
Rob. But Rob's grandfather, born and raised Fijian. They had a small house, just one story, like 2 rooms. Actually, they had 3 rooms because he had one to himself and his other siblings shared a room, and then his parents had another. But Rob's grandfather, who we'll call John, one of John's main chores every night was to get fresh water to have ready for the morning. And they lived by a river, and he'd walk down the hill and grab a few buckets, bring it up, do that a couple times, and do that every night. And he said every night, there was one night where he was finished with his chores. Everyone's asleep. He's in his room and he's about to fall asleep, or he's trying to fall asleep. And all he can hear is the drinking of water. They don't have any pets. They don't have any dogs. And he knows everyone's asleep because he was the last one to go into his room, and he didn't hear anybody leave their rooms to go get water. And he's a little nervous because he doesn't know who could be making that. He's thinking like, everyone's in bed. Who can be out right now? This happens for a few nights. Finally, he gets the courage to peek at what this sound is. Before that, the next day he tells his siblings, but none of them have heard it because they're all sleeping, and none of them believe him either. So John works up the courage to go see what this is. And he slowly opens his door, and lit by the moon outside, he sees a figure so dark, so black, that he could only see the eyes. He said it was this small, almost child, leaning over the bucket, but facing him, It was this black figure, the bucket of water, and then John's door, bedroom door. And he said he opened the door, and the thing immediately knew that John was in the room with him. But the thing didn't do anything.
Is it his living room? I'm sorry, it's inside.
It's like the living room, kitchen, like one big room.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So it's in the house. Concerning.
In the house, yes. It doesn't stop drinking. Keeps cupping water. And it's just watching John while it's drinking water. And John isn't scared as much as he is just curious what this thing is and why it's here, how it got here, why it's drinking its water every night. So John's just standing there in the doorway watching this thing, kind of hiding behind the door, but this thing, like I said, knows that John is aware of it. So this goes on for a few minutes. And then it stops. And the thing smiles, turns around, and walks out. John follows this thing.
Oh, what?
And he watches this thing jump outside the house. And I think this house was on like stilts, you know?
Mm.
I don't know what you call those houses.
Just stilted house. I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
you know? Because this thing jumps off like the porch area, and John watches it crouch down and start crawling under the house. John runs after it, looks underneath the house, pitch black. And John, still curious, crouches down and crawls after it into the pitch black of the underneath of the house. And apparently a lot of their chickens lived underneath the house. So John, with what he can feel and kind of make out, he's grabbing chickens. He's moving them out of the way, trying to look underneath them if he can find this thing. And he said he searched through the whole underneath of the house, didn't find anything. This thing disappeared into the night. He decided to share this with his siblings, this experience. Still, nobody believed him.
Understandable.
Yeah. Told his parents, they said it was just nightmares. So he lived with it by himself. And every night this thing would come. He'd hear a slurping of water. And he started finally getting scared of this thing. Not that it did anything, but that it just caught up to him finally, you know? And it terrified him so bad that he started going to his parents' room, waking them up. They don't see anything. They keep saying it's nightmares. This happens for weeks. So they finally decide to put one of his brothers in the same room as him, you know, just to have like...
With his brother's consent, or he was just like...
You guys sleep together now. Like, just look out for each other.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I thought he like tricked his brother into sleeping in the living room.
No, their parents were like, you guys stay in this room together now,
Gotcha.
you know. The first night that they're sleeping together, John is laying there in his bed. His brother's sleeping. And John is just waiting for this little thing, little kid, little creature or something, whatever it is, to come back. And he's waiting to hear the sound of slurping water. And he doesn't hear anything. And he's like watching intently at the door, his bedroom door, laying on his side. And nothing comes. So he says, he's thinking maybe having my brother here worked. Maybe this isn't real, you know. So he finally feels like it's good enough to finally go to bed. And John readjusts himself, gets comfortable, rolls over, and he sees on the other side of the room the window. And outside the window is a tree. And perched on the branch of the tree, crouching down, is what looks to be the same figure. This little black, so dark. Can't make out any features besides eyes and smile. Everything else is just black. And this terrifies John. Wakes his brother up. Brother wakes up, points out the window. Brother doesn't see anything. Rob looks back. He's like, it's right there. Looks, it's gone. Of course. So Rob's still continuing his life, seeing this, suffering through this on his own.
Frustration, bro.
Yeah.
And terrifying.
Yeah. Second night, they go to bed. John is waiting to hear the slurping of water. Nothing. Rolls over slowly, looks outside the window. Tree is empty. He waits a little bit. He's listening. He's looking, listening, looking. Coast is clear. He's starting to feel at ease and he's starting to feel real tired. So he falls asleep. He wakes up in the middle of the night and he sees this dark figure standing at his window. And he realizes that it's not the same figure that he sees. John's bed is now empty. His brother's not there. He puts it together that that's his brother standing at the window.
Outside?
No, inside.
Oh,
Yeah. Standing inside the house, staring outside the window. And he calls after him. I don't know his name. He calls after him. He says, brother, what are you looking at? What's the matter? What's going on? Come to bed. Brother, not breaking his sight.
doesn't even react.
Doesn't react, doesn't answer. And whatever he sees, he can't see because he's standing in the way. His brother is standing in the way of it. He says, brother, what is it? And he gets out of bed and he walks up. Finally, he sees this little figure's back perched up on this tree. And they're so afraid to look away because the first night they looked away and then it disappeared. The brother didn't want that to happen again. But John forces him to come back to bed and he pulls him back. They get under their sheets or their blankets. And in that time where they came from the window to the bed, the thing perched on the tree had traveled to the window outside. Now standing outside the window, staring at them. So they're lying there in bed, these two brothers, paralyzed with fear. And this thing lifts its leg up and the other leg up, stands on top of the windowsill, and then walks fully inside the house. John said, as soon as this thing came into our house, the whole room filled with black. What? And both of us went unconscious. We woke up in the morning. Everything was as it was, just regular day. And that was the peak of John's experience with this figure, this little kid or visitor. None of it was ever like malicious. No harm had come to them. They were never hurt. But that memory of it being perched on the tree and its eyes staring at him in his living room and the sound of water slurping, it's just burned into his brain. And he told this to Rob.
This is Rob's grandpa, right? Grandpa
Yep.
John? Okay.
Yeah.
He told that to Rob.
Yeah. And John had never experienced it really ever again. But he has the memory of it and he has his brother to tell the end of it, because up until that point, Rob was the only one who was seeing it. John kind of forgot about this because it hadn't really happened after that night where it came into their room until Rob brought up a visitor that he had and memories of this dark little creature or thing in John's house as he was a child came flooding back into his mind.
So what happened to Rob?
So Rob and his story is something that I'll be telling for our patrons.
Oh.
So
Damn.
if you want to listen to that, head to patreon.com/the3am pod. We tell bonus stories every single week.
I get to hear it, but I'm like still disappointed. Even I'm like, dang. That's so crazy.
Okay. So Rob spent his early teenage years in Australia and Sydney.
Nice.
So his family had moved.
And we're back.
That's me tonight, guys.
Cool. Thanks for that, dude. That was fun.
That was spooky, dude. It's wild how both he and his grandpa had
I love that.
experiences.
I love when families or friends, there's validation from close people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about it. It's like, okay, maybe you experienced that. A lot of ways we could write that off. But the second someone else experiences the same thing, it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, so who is next?
Wait, on shoot or on rock, paper, scissors?
1, 2, 3, go. Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, I'll go first. All right, so that's me. All right, we're going to completely switch it up. This story was sent to me by my cousin.
The goat.
One of the goats. This
one
was sent
of
to me by Audrey.
Oh, don't tell.
So Audrey, much like Seth, does the Lord's work and asks everyone, yo, you got a good story. And she was hanging out with a friend who's from out of state. And I guess it was late at night. They got to talking and her friend told her this story. Friend didn't know about a podcast, doesn't know anything about it, but just like, was like, dude, honestly, she said she was pretty reluctant to tell it at first. So we're going to call her friend Ashley. So Ashley has experienced a couple crazy things in her life, but this is the one that has by far given her the most PTSD.
Most trauma.
Most traumatic for her. So it starts out. Ashley is dating her now husband. So this is back when they were just dating. Mm-hmm. It's pretty fresh, honeymoon phase. They were hanging out every single day. So what they do is after work, he would come over to her house or she would go straight to his house, hang out till super late until finally she's like, okay, I got to drive home. Or he would be like, okay, I got to leave, So they lived about a 10-minute drive away from each other. So too far to walk, but not that long to drive. Mm-hmm. She lived in a townhouse community. So it's just like those cookie cutter homes. Mm-hmm. There's a parking lot. So half of the parking spots are specifically for the people who live there. Some of them are for guest parking. Some of them are covered. Some of them are uncovered. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. So it's one of those nights. She's hanging out at her boyfriend's. Gets late. She's like, okay, I got to go. It's fall. So it's getting dark even faster now. So she walks outside. No one in the parking lot. It's quiet. Goes up to her car. Gets in. Shuts the door. Starts looking for a song on her iPod, picks it, turns the car on, throws it into reverse. The second she starts to back up, beep, 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 beep. So she like jumps because it's alarming. Holy shit, I'm about to hit something. Mm-hmm. Looks in her dash cam that's in the front. Mm-hmm. And she sees a figure. So she sees a man standing. And what's weird is he's like several feet back so she can see the entire outline of him. And he's just standing like almost in the middle of her camera's view. Mm-hmm. She said he was pretty tall. He had extremely baggy jeans on. He had a black hoodie. His hands are in his hoodie and he's facing down. So she can't see his face. This obviously startles her. She jumps, right?
And she 8 Mile.
She watches.
Palms are sweaty. Sorry.
She watches. He's there for a minute and then just slowly starts to walk away. She looks back behind her in the passenger rear mirror and can just see him walk. He walks around the corner of the townhouse and is gone. Mm-hmm. So she backs out. Her heart's pounding, goes home, doesn't really even think about it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't even bring it up to her boyfriend. It's just like, whatever. It was weird, but whatever. Couple nights later, except this time she's at her house. Mm-hmm. She's getting ready to go over to her boyfriend's. So she goes down, gets in her car, starts to back up. Beep, 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 beep. And she said irrational fear just takes over. Looks in her rear view camera, and this time the figure is right up on the back of her car. It's a man in extremely baggy jeans with a black hoodie. And he's like, she can only see from like the torso down to like the knees. Paralyzed with fear. Mm-hmm. Same thing. The figure standing there slowly walks away and just continues on the path.
Yeah. I'm getting really close to where like I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep backing up.
Yep. I don't care about your beeps.
Yeah.
Just hit reverse and go hard.
Yeah, just run over this dude.
She said when she was telling Audrey this story, she said, I can remember so vividly how I felt the second time that happened. She said, I immediately just wanted to cry. Like something was up. This is more than just a coincidence.
Yeah.
So she decided to drive a different path to her boyfriend's. She just was like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know if I was being followed because the first time she saw it,
It was at his house.
Yeah, so she's not sure, is this a different figure?
Yeah.
But her gut is telling her, this is the same thing. Something's wrong. So she's so terrified, she goes to her boyfriend and she tells him, like, what's going on. Hey, like, I don't think it's anything. I'm not sure, but, you know, this is happening to me. Can I just stay here tonight?
He says no, right?
Yeah, he's like, you know the rule.
No, sister.
Yeah, the spirit goes to bed at 11. No. So she stays the night.
Right.
Weeks go by. She's working late one night. She's working on a project. She leaves her work and she remembers, like, okay, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? And she remembers, crap, there's no groceries. Like, I have nothing at home. I don't even have milk. I can't have cereal. She's like, okay, I'll just stop by the grocery store real quick. Goes to the grocery store. She's in there for longer than she thinks because she's like, I might as well just buy all the groceries I need for the week. So by the time she gets out of the grocery store, it's dark. But this is weeks gone by. So she's not even thinking about anything that's happened. She pulls up to the entrance of her townhouse community, like goes through the gates, pulls into her parking lot. As she turns the corner, her headlights sweep the parking lot, and standing near a car is a man in a black hoodie and super baggy jeans. And he's just standing there. And she says super quickly, she like realizes, sees it, recognizes what it is, except this time he's not wearing his hood. But in a split second, he throws his hood on super hard and starts pretending to fidget with something in his pocket. And so she is about to pull into her spot and thinks, hell no, like there's no way. I'm going to just, she's like panicking. She's, what do I do? So she pulls to like the end of the parking lot and parks in a guest parking lot. She's like, I didn't want him to know my apartment number. Parks her car, deep breath, grabs all her groceries with one go and sprints to her house.
The dude's like, I've stood behind your car twice. I know who you are.
So she runs up, slams the door, locks it, turns off all the lights, and runs to the window. Grabs one of the blinds and peeks through and looks down in the parking lot. And she sees a black hooded figure in super baggy jeans, like sprinting out of the townhouse parking lot. Like he's running to the entrance. So now she knows, okay, this dude's sketch doesn't belong here. It's not just a neighbor. He wasn't getting into a car. He wasn't grabbing his keys. Something's up. She's so terrified, calls her boyfriend, I need you to come over. Tells him everything. Like, listen, this has happened 3 times. Like, this is it. And they both decide, I think it's time we call the cops. But they said, they were fully aware they had like nothing to go on. But they're like, I think we should just call the cops. They call the cops. Tell them what's happening. And the cops are like, well, I'm sorry, but like, I mean, there's not much we can go on. And she says, he is a white male, over 6 feet tall, dark hair. But other than that, I didn't really see anything. Wears a hoodie and baggy jeans. And they're like, well, has he threatened you? No. You know, has he broken in? Has he stolen? No. All right. Well, I mean, the best we can do is we can send a unit over there and drive through and look around. I'm like, okay, thank you so much. So they wait. 20 minutes later, cop car drives through the townhouse parking lot. Lights are going, but no sirens. Just kind of drives through 2 or 3 times and leaves. And they're watching the whole time. They're watching the bushes. They're watching the corners. They see nothing. Okay, that's all we can do. So weeks go by after that. She wakes up. She's getting ready for work. She gets an email. It's her bank. And it's just it's like an automated message. And it says, hey, there's been a huge purchase on your card. We want to make sure it's you. Can you confirm? If it's not, let us know immediately. She looks and like $800 worth of stuff has been bought at like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, some hardware store. And she's like, okay, that wasn't me. Immediately calls the bank, cancels the card, changes the account number, everything. It's like, that's so weird. Week after that, she's at work. Her and some coworkers, they say, hey, let's go. They had this one sandwich store that they would always go to. Like, let's go there and we'll grab sandwiches. Perfect. So they're there, they're eating. And as she's eating, she's like looking down and the door opens and a person walks in and she immediately recognizes who it is. And she said, weirdly enough, like it was because of like his legs and his stance. It was an ex-boyfriend of hers. He was wearing a well-tailored suit. He worked in the same part of town. He walked in and she's like, I don't want to talk to him, but it's going to be super awkward if I don't. So she takes a deep breath and is like, I'll just go say hi real quick. And she stands up. Random background on this dude. They had dated for a while and they had broken up about 1.5 years previous. Near the end, he was getting super manipulative, very clingy, super jealous. And several times she tried to break up with him and he would not take no for an answer. He was super forceful. He's like, no, you're staying. Until she was like, basically screaming, no, I'm done. And he's like, fine, okay. They had run into each other once or twice within that year and it was always whatever. So she gets up, walks over to him and says, hey, how are you? Like, crazy to see you out here. And he's like, yeah, super nice, super normal. Orders something to go and leaves. She's like, oh, okay. A couple nights later, she's at her boyfriend's. He was doing like spring cleaning or something, even though I already said it's fall. He was just like cleaning out his closet. He's getting rid of stuff. So she's helping him. He's like in the kitchen. She's in his room. She's going through his closet and she finds his gym bag in the back of his closet. She grabs it. She's like, okay, maybe I can donate this. Opens it up and pulls out super baggy jeans. And she turns around and her boyfriend, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. They are cleaning. She doesn't find baggy jeans. She fills up a trash bag. And what they'd been doing is he would be like, yeah, donate all that or go throw it away. So all night they were taking bags out to the trash, the dumpster. It's about her 3rd or 4th time taking a bag out. She grabs the bag, opens his apartment door, walks down halfway to the dumpster when she gets a feeling and quickly glances down the street. She doesn't know why. She just gets like, I need to look over here. Quickly looks over and sees a parked car. And in the driver's seat of the car, she sees her ex-boyfriend. Now, as quickly as she can, she looks down to not like alert him when it all hits her. And she connects all the dots. She said, I felt the blood drain from my face. My heart went cold. Like her ears, her spine is tingling. At first, she's super confused. But like I said, very quickly, everything clicks. She just sets the trash down, kind of near the curb where she's standing, turns around, and as calmly as she can, she walks back up into her boyfriend's house, calmly shuts the door, and the second she gets inside, locks the door and starts bawling. And she's like frantically calling her boyfriend, come here now. She's like trying to get him to come. And he comes and she's like, what's going on? And she's a blubbering mess. She's just bawling. The reason why she's crying is everything added up. It was her ex the entire time. And he had been wearing baggy pants. And it was because her boyfriend, and this is the reason why she was able to recognize him immediately in the sandwich shop, is he had super bowed-legged legs. And she realized the entire time that he wore those baggy pants so that she wouldn't recognize him. And she put it together. He had been at her house. He had been outside his house, the boyfriend's house. And he knew like her credit card information. And she realized everything was escalating. He started by being super far away. Then he's like right up on her. Then he's at her boyfriend's house. Then he's charging her card. And then he even like that accidental run-in at the shop. She's like, I don't think it was accidental.
Not accident.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So the boyfriend's able to get this information out of her. She's terrified.
Yeah.
Calls the cops. Cops come super quick this time. And they're able to arrest him.
Yeah.
Not only do they arrest him, they convict him. Because they did a search of his house and his car. In his house, he had her credit card information written down. He had a ton of photos of not only her, but other random women, and they're all super voyeuristic, like outside through windows and shit. And when they went through his car, he had duct tape, zip ties, trash bags, a shovel, and a hammer, all in his car.
The photos of the other girls, did they know, like, were they able to find who those were? And
I don't know. But he's still in prison to this day. And she and her boyfriend moved states and got married.
smart.
Nice.
So she said she firmly believes that she like stopped him before something really, really, really bad was about to happen.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
And that's it.
It's crazy how she pieced it together. He really was 8 Mile with the bow legs, knees weak.
Arms are heavy.
You nerd. But anyway, that's the story. That's Ashley's story. And that's how she narrowly escaped a possible death.
What's
Murder.
What do we know? What state that was?
I don't. I asked.
Still don't.
And
didn't
she
really
said
say.
I asked my cousin, and she said that Ashley said she just kind of didn't want to say any of that just for safety reasons.
State of emergency.
But really, though.
So that's me tonight.
Thank you, Audrey
Yeah. And Ashley.
and Ashley.
Okay. So my story comes from probably at 3 a.m. first. Someone found me on LinkedIn
Excuse me, what?
and
Nice.
messaged me, and they said, "Before I make a fool out of myself, are you the Sean from 3 a.m.?"
Oh, you famous, bro.
And I was like, yeah, dude, what's up?
He's like, oh, I was just asking because you put that in your resume on LinkedIn.
Dude, I'm trying to be on that podcast list where people look for podcasters there.
It's like that position as a fry cook is still available.
And then he decided he wanted to give me a story as well. And
On LinkedIn?
on LinkedIn, dude.
Damn, dude.
And he also, in the process of telling this story, told me that he's never shared this story with anyone outside of talking about it with the people who were there.
What the heck?
So this is a first for him, is a first for us. I
think
thought
it's a
it was
first
kinda
for
cool.
everyone on this planet.
I think it's the first for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Shout
many
out LinkedIn,
I
please.
don't know how many scary stories are told in that app.
Dude, we'll just get that sponsorship too from LinkedIn, dude. So this guy's name is Chance, and that's a fake name. He didn't want to have his name out there. So Chance is telling me that when he was growing up, around age 10, he and his mom were really close. At one point, kind of in and around this age of his, around 10, he said that his mom started to experience an unbearable pain, just swelling, etc., and they didn't know why.
Just like in her whole body swelling, or
Or like depression.
He doesn't describe that here. He just says she started to experience unbearable pain and swelling, and they didn't know why.
Huh.
So at one point, she ended up going to the emergency room and had some blood tests run. And the results came in. He said he remembers it like it was yesterday. It was before Christmas Eve, and he thought it was crazy because he couldn't imagine putting himself in the doctor's shoes of having to tell someone this on a holiday like Christmas. So he was in his room, supposed to be asleep, when he heard his parents talking and getting the news that his mom had leukemia.
jeez.
So terrible, terrible disease. And he'll never forget it, the crying and the weeping between his mom and his dad. And he couldn't quite fully comprehend at the time, but his parents ended up telling all of the children. He was able to understand, but like when he overheard them, he didn't. He said he was the youngest. He had 3 older sisters, 2 that he grew up with, and 1 from a previous marriage. And he mentions her by name. Her name was Rita. So kind of after years of struggling with devastating news of his mom having this cancer, they end up relocating just for treatment. And after a long fight with leukemia, his mom ends up passing away. Now, eventually she did end up losing her battle with cancer. And she really wasn't herself. When they had brought her into a hospice, he said that she kind of just felt empty as if her soul had kind of already left her body.
Huh.
She was given about 3 weeks when she was sent home for hospice, and the first night from being away from that, she passed away the next morning.
Wait, the first night of hospice?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Okay, so she was done.
She was pretty done. So he said his mom also had 2 sisters, and one of these sisters is also important to this story. This sister of hers was in kind of an abusive marriage, and mentioned it was verbal and sometimes physical abusive marriage. And he remembered his mom was always trying to help her get out of it, but his aunt, or his mom's sister, was just too afraid of kind of losing everything, kind of putting herself in that
Vulnerable.
dealing with it, because she didn't want to have to go back to, I don't know, being single or having to live life alone. So she never did get out of it. So after his mother had passed away, a few days later, they held the funeral. His aunt never made it to the funeral, though. And he never understood why at the time. He was actually really upset with it because they were all close as a family. And shortly after the funeral, though, he got a call that his aunt had actually committed suicide. So shortly after his mom passes away, his aunt commits suicide. He mentions that it was actually the husband who had control of her medication, so this abusive spouse, and at this point just basically threw the bottle at her and basically said, do whatever you want.
Oh.
And she overdosed on the medication she was supposed to be taking. So fast forward, he ends up attending his mom's funeral, and then his aunt's within about 2 weeks of each other.
Jeez.
And he wrote this. We don't have to include it. But he said, but now's the up part. So you thought that was all above was up, but just wait.
Damn, dude. No.
So as I'm reading this story, I'm like, well, damn.
I'm like seriously
damn.
stressed right now. Yeah.
Well, damn. Just as I keep going through this story. So shortly after both funerals ended up happening, his oldest half-sister, Rita, invites him, his other siblings, over to her house to kind of do a prayer, just like a prayer of peace, something is what he described it as. But he's also 10. He said that he was lied to. He had no idea what he was actually going over to this house for.
I just got chills.
As he gets over to the house, he and Rita, his 2 sisters, and also Rita's husband was there. They head into the living room, and he remembers that she brings out what he could only describe as a Ouija board. No. But it's not an actual Ouija board in like the typical sense. He said it didn't have the letters on it. It was like a board with words over it. So like and it was homemade as well. So it looked like someone had just pieced it together.
Oh.
So.
You okay, Deej? He's pissed at Rita.
No,
Just,
not okay.
It's just, this is real stressful. So they start to perform this sort of seance with the homemade Ouija board that they have out.
How old is your homie?
He's like 10.
Dude.
So
What the hell are we doing?
He was lied to, brought him, his 2 sisters over to this house, and now they're performing some sort of seance with this homemade Ouija board. When all of a sudden, one of his sisters, not Rita, starts seizing up and then started laughing. So she starts seizing up and then starts laughing in front of all of them. But he could tell as this 10-year-old kid, it's not his sister laughing.
Yeah, for sure.
It reminded him more of his mom than his sister. At this point, his sister that had been laughing stops and asks Rita for a cigarette. Now, he notes that this sister that had been seizing up and laughed had never smoked a day in her life, but his mom did. So 2 things right in a row, just kind of indicating that that's potentially his mom. So Rita brings her a cigarette, and he said that his sister just kind of started smoking like she had been doing it her entire life. Like it was something she was used to doing. Now, as she was smoking, his oldest sister, Rita, starts asking the younger sister, who is unnamed, Mom, is that you? At that point, the possessed sister says yes. Rita then asks her if she's okay. And if she is happy, and whatever was possessing his sister at this point kind of speaks again, but doesn't really sound like his mom.
Uh-oh.
It responded, no, he won't let me cross over. And he says at this point, his face just turns white. He feels all of the blood just drop out of his face. His sister Rita then asks, is Janet with you? Which is the sister that committed suicide.
Whoa.
Immediately after that, the possessed sister responded, no, she was able to move on, but he won't let me go. As soon as she said those words, my sister started seizing up again, and this time even worse. So they had to call 911. He said that Rita's husband ran to the kitchen to get water for my sister. And as he gets to the kitchen, he just freezes as he's looking at the back door, and they can't see the back door from the living room. All of a sudden, Rita's husband starts freaking out. Just like, guys, what's going on here? Him, as the 10-year-old kid, decides he's going to run and get the water for his sister because he doesn't know what else to do. As he gets to the kitchen, he sees what Rita's husband is looking at. And he describes standing at the back door what looked like a 7-foot tall with horns on its head and goat-like legs, just standing at the glass opening in this back door.
Holy shit. Dude, heavy hit. Beelzebub showed up.
And he starts to panic at this point as well. He fell to the floor, and Rita's husband started kind of dragging him out of the living room or out of the kitchen back into the living room. And he runs over to the sage that they had, and he starts like lighting up sage because he doesn't know what else to do. I actually had to look this up, but he describes the sage as it's being lit as these tight flame or tight smoke that is like being lit
ringlets
off.
Or something?
Yeah. And it's actually indicative of uncleanliness in the area, just evil spirits in the area.
I feel like I've heard that.
So he's describing first this terrible thing he's seen at the door, and then the smoke just super tight. And I guess it's tight because of all the evil energy in the area is not allowing the smoke to go throughout the room.
So it's like being pressed in and stuff.
Being
like
pressed
compressed.
in. Exactly.
Gosh.
So he says after recovering from what he could only describe as a panic attack, he and his sister, who was no longer seizing up, ended up leaving. And he said he couldn't sleep for over 10 days.
What the hell?
I imagine he's probably off and on, like nodding off sleep.
Yeah, maybe not like a full night's sleep.
Not a full night's sleep. But he said that experience he's never talked about with anyone else. He says even Rita's husband saw exactly what it is that he saw.
So like they talked about it and confirmed. Like,
they talked about it and confirmed. And the husband was the first one to even see it in the first place because he had walked into the kitchen to get water.
I have chills, dog.
So he said he wanted to add something as well, that his sister Rita had come from a previous marriage of his mom's. And that husband had also been extremely abusive and had beat her constantly. He had actually ended up getting drunk, passing out in a creek and drowning.
Whoa. So that's Rita's dad.
Rita's dad and his mom's previous husband. And that was the only thing he could think of when he heard "he won't let me go."
Huh.
As if the husband, her previous husband, was holding on to her, not letting her pass on.
Yeah.
But that didn't explain anything of what he saw that night either.
Frick.
But that's the end of his story. He says he's, like I said, he's not really talked about it with anyone before.
Do you know this person?
I don't know them. He legit hit me up on LinkedIn.
How did he know? Is it from your work at all?
No, he's not from my work either.
What is happening?
That's why he was saying like somebody.
No, legitimately, this is the first.
Here's the thing. Sorry if this is boring for our viewers, but this is crazy. So Sean is at work and they send out this email recently and it was like, hey, Halloween season is, and this is like HR, you know?
Yeah.
Halloween season is upon us. Like people at my work or people at our work, go ahead and if anyone has a spooky tale, send in their story. And so Sean was just like, oh, me and I actually have a scary story podcast. Here's a link. If you want to use any of them, go for it. So that's why I was like, oh, maybe someone in your work saw that.
Yeah. No one. This is not from work.
What is happening?
This
How did they
happened
find you?
before that, actually. I've had this for about 2 weeks now.
How do they find you?
I have no idea.
Okay. Something, I know you said you think it's like the X.
Well, and that's what he said. He said that's what he thought of.
Here's the thing. I've heard this on Mysterious Universe. I've heard this on when my friend talked to the foot soldier for Satan. And I've heard this, I can't remember where else. First, I'll start with my friend. My friend was in Australia, out in the middle of nowhere, in the outback, and he had a very long conversation with this guy who claimed to be a foot soldier for Satan, who worked for Satan, who gave his body away to be used. And he said, in return, he was given power. But one of the things he was given was knowledge. And so he was taken away in the spirit, and he was shown what happens to you when you die and where you go. And a lot of the things that he shared, sorry if this is too much, is what Mormons believe. Like our perception of why we're here, where we came from, and where we're going. It all fit in. And this is coming from a person who did not know the Mormon religion or whatever. But what he did say was, there's some threshold you cross after you die, and it's almost like this path into the afterlife or the spirit world. And what happens is they wait there and they try to catch spirits before they can pass.
Whoa.
So there's something where he said that the spirit who was with him, who was teaching him all about the process, said, this is where we wait to try to catch those who are trying to cross over. And he thought that was crazy. And when he told my friend that, my friend sitting there like applying his knowledge of the church and the gospel that we believe in, and he was like, holy shit, like what? Then recently I'm listening to Mysterious Universe, and I think they're talking to a guy who's like I could be messing this up, but I'm pretty sure they were talking to a guy who had, he either studied really old religions or he was like a regression hypnotherapist. Anyway, there's some entity that he discovered that waits at the threshold after life and tries to catch people crossing over. And he said it's like a real entity that does that. And that recently, I heard that like 2 or 3 weeks ago or something. And now you're telling me this thing. And the mom was saying like, I can't cross over. They won't let me cross over.
Paired with whatever it was that was, and he said the thing wasn't doing anything. It was just standing there.
Which is almost more terrifying.
It reminds me what you were saying about like, is it the river of Hades?
No, I don't know. They just said like it was some sort of path or conduit or like some threshold that like the spirit of the dead cross.
But like I'm saying the river of Hades.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like you pay to get across, but isn't the river made of, this is like Greek mythology.
It's made of spirits.
All I know about it
Made of
is
spirits. Yeah.
what I learned in Hercules.
Yeah. But
Oh, yeah, that. And
it's similar.
Yeah.
Because you're crossing over and there's, you can't like swim across it, you know?
Huh. Dude. Obviously, this guy doesn't want to be identified. Right. I am so weirdly intrigued by how you received the story. Like, who is this? What's happening?
That's funny that you only caught on to that after.
No, I know. I thought, because I was just like, oh, it must be someone that Sean knows professionally. And I know you recently like sent that out in your company. So I was like, oh, maybe this is a coworker.
No, his first message was, hey, Sean, before I give you a story and make a fool of myself, are you the same Sean Gasway from 3 a.m.?
So weird.
And he requested me as a connection at this point as well. Not from work.
Bro,
interesting.
I just had such vivid like imagery of the sister like jerking and shaking and then like howling, laughing, you know, and then like looking down and then being like, that's not her.
Yeah. No, the laughing part too, and then the changing of tone and voice after that, just so terrifying. Like you like hear about that, and anytime someone's trying to do a seance or use a Ouija board, but just each time is super stressful.
Ugh. It reminds me of the scene in Hereditary. The mom just lost her daughter. She's going to this group. Oh, she just lost her mom. Then she loses her daughter. And then she goes to this group for support. And the lady there is like, oh, I have to share something with you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can talk to her again. I'll show you how. And then she does it and she wakes her family up in the middle of the night. She's like, come do this with me. And just like, so when he was like walking in, I could like see the
Just
sister being like,
imagining
just do
that.
this with us. Just do this with us.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I thought of that exact scene as well.
And it's so just gross that they would lie to him because that's what he said happened.
Also, I feel like that's not a great way to start a seance. It's like with deception, no trust. It's like, and from what I know, my limited research is like, you're not supposed to like invite anything like that when you use a Ouija board,
Oh, no.
even if it's like someone you know, because it's too easy for something to imitate that.
Yeah.
Dude, what if the thing in the back door was the thing not letting her cross and it was just there to like watch? You know
After
what I'm saying?
like hearing what you've said, like from Mysterious Universe and the other guy in Australia, yeah, I think that's possible.
Like almost like he's just like, all right, I'll let you go to this thing, but like I'm gonna be right here the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be watching. I don't know. I don't know what that is. But I mean the imagery that you saw at the back door is Beelzebub, like Lucifer or
Yeah.
the beast, you know.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, definitely has a hand, I think, in like orchestrating the chaos and like just overseeing it, making sure it's.
Did y'all just hear that?
Yeah.
Did not like that. I just heard like a hinge.
Like a squeak.
yeah, and no one else is here, so I'm terrified. Frick,
Well-
dude. Y'all gotta walk me to my car tonight. This is one of those nights where I'm gonna need help.
You're not okay.
Yeah, which is it. Yeah.
I hear you.
Oh,
But-
okay. Like, how do we? I feel like we got to do something to clear the air, y'all. Because
Where's our sage, bro?
I know
Let's go watch some like Theo Vaughn or something after this.
for real.
That is a good way. But that's me for tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Chance.
Thank you, Chance.
Anything else to add?
Guys, listeners, hit us up on LinkedIn. Give us your stories. Make a connection.
Yeah, connect with us. Be part of our network.
I don't know why, but that one's gonna mess me up for a while. I think I'm like gonna be thinking about that tonight when I go to sleep. No,
It's like it also reminds me of the Signs.
Like the movie signs?
Yeah, the movie Signs.
What
Sorry.
part?
When what's his name? The Joker,
Oh, Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
He's like watching the video on the TV with the kids.
Vaminos children.
Yeah. But then like
Which it would piss me off because they're in Brazil and he's
Yeah.
screaming Spanish at them.
yeah. But the kids are freaking out. They're like moving like looking out the window. And then they see like around the bushes just the alien like walk.
And when it steps out,
Comes
they freeze.
out.
Kids scream.
And he just like walks.
He like backs up into the closet. And he's like, oh, dude, that scarred me as a kid when I
Yeah.
saw that. I was like, I don't want
It's
this
That was
anymore.
terrifying.
It's
yeah.
a simple scene, but it's terrifying.
Oh, powerful.
Anyway.
Well, we're just sorry that we can't help you clear the air after listening to this episode, but
I know. I feel bad almost. Guys, I love all of you. Thank you so much. I just want to shout out all of our patrons. We talk about every single new one that we get. We talk about it in our personal like group. People send us messages that are just like thank you for what you guys are doing, stuff like that. It means a lot. Probably more than it should. But it truly does. Because of our patrons and everyone who's like bought the t-shirts, we're going to start, as you can see, I mean, we're in the woods right now. We're going to start, like developing our space and our equipment and like really, I don't know, delivering the product that we're proud of, I guess.
Yeah.
so
Thank you all. Yeah. I'm glad we had another week where you can come get scared. And we hope you all have a good week.
Happy October. Trust your gut, watch your back.
Bye. Love you. Be safe.
Question everything.
Bye-bye.
Don't invite it in.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of 3 a.m. If you want to support us, visit our Patreon where patrons have access to exclusive content. If you're not able to support us monetarily, don't worry. This episode is on us. You can still rate and review us on whatever platform you listen to us on. It really does go a long way. You can also follow us on social media. Our handle everywhere, including Patreon, is the 3 a.m. pod. Finally, do you have any scary stories? If so, submit them to our website, the3ampodcast.com. We love any audio or visual aids that can help bring your stories to life. So file uploads are welcome with your written submissions. We're anxious and excited to hear from you.